This country, which punches far above its weight in so many areas, has underachieved terribly when it comes to technology. For years, talented Aussie coders have escaped to Silicon Valley to make their livings, and recent Australian government policies have underfunded science and tech. As my pap would say, Aussie tech is crook. There are signs, though, that Australia has turned on and started to retain some of its homegrown tech talent. This, then, is an odyssey to find the country's rising stars. My journey goes from the beaches of Sydney to the artsy cosmopolitan streets of Melbourne. Along the way, I get lost in a cave with only glowworms to guide me, go fishing with an internet playboy, and make friends with some dinosaurs. Check any survey of the best places to live, and you'll find Sydney near the top. It's a sprawling, gorgeous city of about 4 million good-spirited people who love to be outdoors, to party, and to enjoy life. But there's a strong case to be made that Sydney-siders may be too content, at least when it comes to the city's tech scene. While big companies like Google and Microsoft have offices here, Sydney can only point to a couple of smash startups that have made it big overseas. That famous Aussie pluck has gone missing. There is, however, a tech revolution building, and it's being led by young, ambitious scientists. They've left their fancy university labs and migrated to Sydney's tech underground. And no one proves this point more than the free radical I'll meet first. Okay, this spot doesn't exactly ooze tech. It's an artist warehouse in a Sydney suburb. But move deeper through the creative commune, and you'll find a makeshift science lab. And this guy, one of its founders, a transhumanist, polyamorous biohacker. You all know the type.
Welcome to BioFoundry, Australia's first open access molecular biology lab.
Sinister as it can sometimes sound, biohacking has turned into an exciting new field. It's do-it-yourself meddling with DNA on the cheap to tweak nature. And this is Australia's first biohacker lab, open to anyone willing to pay a membership fee.
Let's get into it.
And the name of this biohacking pioneer? Meow Meow.
Do you prefer to be Mr. Meow?
Mr. Meow Meow. No, Meow's fine.
Meow hit up Jenner's friends for a lot of this scientific gear, and he hopes the lab will inspire people of all stripes to give biotech a try. It's about pulling people in with hands-on experiments, like extracting DNA from the strawberry.
If you stir where the alcohol touches the strawberries, you'll be able to pull out some stringy stuff, and that's the DNA. So that's the instructions to make a strawberry. This is the first step in a biohack lab. Pretty much anything we're doing with molecular biology, we're going to need to get that DNA out. The flavor genes, the pigment genes, we can take these genes out and put them in other things. So you might want to make an apple that tastes like a strawberry. You might be able to take the pigment genes out and make a new type of paint.
So you kind of take the most interesting properties of some organism, extract it out, and then maybe chuck it into something else and give it some new superpowers.
That's it.
Yeah.
Make everything glow.
A molecular biologist by training, Meow has put the lab to work on real projects, ranging from anti-mold paint and take-home STD tests to phosphorescent alcohol.
Cool. Damn straight it is.
Meow insisted that my next tutorial take place in nature. We set out for the Noona State Forest, located in the famed Blue Mountains, about 5 hours west of Sydney. It's there that we hope to find the tiny creature at the heart of Meow's make everything feel like a rave dreams.
So we're about to go to the glowworm tunnel. It used to be a railway tunnel they used in mining, and now it's been decommissioned, and the glowworms have come back and re-inhabited the tunnel.
I've waited this long, and now I have to ask you, how did you get the name Meow Meow?
I'd wanted to change my name since I was like 15. My friends and I just sat down and we just wrote down a huge list of names, and then we picked the one that sounded the best. So,
What's your full name now?
Meow, Ludo, Disco, Gamma, Meow Meow.
With the formalities out of the way, the time had come to meet one of Australia's lesser-known biological attractions.
Glowworms are nocturnal. They are generally less sensitive to red wavelengths of light than they are white or blue light.
I guess to see him best, we've got to turn this off.
Meow talks a lot about a lot of things. Sometimes he's hyping a mango that's been altered to do your laundry. And other times he's promoting hallucinogenated orgies. To each his own. But without question, Meow's biohacking enthusiasm has worked, with labs modeled on this spot popping up all around the country. Prepare yourself, Australia, for the phosphorescent revolution has begun. Putting all things phosphorescent behind me, it was time to leave Sydney and head south to the bustling city of Melbourne. Melbourne lacks the surf culture of Sydney, but has plenty going on. In a sport-mad country, Melbourne is considered the athletic capital, thanks to its massive venues for cricket, rugby, and tennis. It's also something of a cultural capital. The elegant city gives off a European charm with its huge Greek and Italian communities, a tram system, and it takes great pride in its laneways, which are alleys packed full of street graffiti and world-class restaurants, one after the other. If you're looking to eat your way through Australia, this is a good place to start. The artsy, up-and-comer vibe to Melbourne has had an impact on its tech scene. People here have needed to think a bit different to get attention, and it's paid off. There's an argument to be made that Melbourne may be Australia's most promising tech hub, at least in terms of raw creativity. The undisputed king of Melbourne's tech scene bears this thesis out. He's Ruslan Kogan, the founder and CEO of Kogan.com, an online retailer that has changed the way Australians shop.
We do about 3 times more revenue per employee than Amazon.
He's a rich, flamboyant, controversial workaholic who finds an escape now and again at the Melbourne Pier.
All right, let's go catch some snapper.
Okay. You must have been around like 8 years old when you moved here from Belarus, or?
6 years old. Communism's falling apart. My parents decided to leave, which I'm so thankful for, and came here with $90 in their pockets.
Kogan grew up in Melbourne's housing projects and showed an entrepreneur's spirit right from the start. As a kid, he ran a golf ball cleaning business, a car wash, and then a tech consulting operation. By the time he was 23, Kogan had become consumed with another quest: man's eternal hunt for an affordable flat-screen TV.
I thought, I can't afford it from the shops, but let me email some factories. And I thought I'd tell them that I want to order 100,000 TVs, and they'll get back to me, and then I'll ask for a sample, and that sample was going to be my TV. But when they started replying with all of their quotes, I saw very quickly that there's a brilliant market opportunity here.
The big idea Kogan hit on was to go direct to Chinese manufacturers to buy TVs for a fraction of the going price. To get the first batch of TVs, Kogan maxed out a few credit cards and had to borrow money from his friends.
You're on this lug to just get a cheap TV and it turns into a business idea.
Yeah.
Australians had been slow to hop online, and local retailers had largely ignored the web. Kogan dragged the entire country online and helped ignite an internet retail boom. Today, Kogan sells about $250 million of products per year, and Ruslan wants to expand the brand overseas and make Kogan a household name.
Should we check if we still have bait?
Let's have a look. Not a single bite.
What do you think? Should we keep trying or should we drink beer? Thanks, mate. People keep telling me they feel like Australia was a little bit late to the tech business, but now it's turning this corner. You know, I can't tell if I'm getting spun or if there really is kind of a corner being turned.
Look, we went through a time in Australia where our business leaders and politicians were talking about how bad online retail is because it's gonna cost a lot of jobs in the retail industry. Luckily, we're at a point now where they're starting to realize that innovation is the future. There's only a certain amount of stuff you can dig out of the ground. Our brain power and our ideas are an unlimited resource. And if you can harness that one, then you're going to be a very rich nation.
If you're a hip city on the move, what you need is a giant Ferris wheel. The Melbourne Star opened in 2008 and is said to be the Southern Hemisphere's only giant observation wheel, whatever that means. As far as big technology and big science goes, Melbourne can lay claim to some stunning achievements. Scientists here did pioneering work on in vitro fertilization, heart valve replacement, and cochlear implants. And the big science journey into our bodies continues on at a place known as the Australian synchrotron. The synchrotron cost $150 million to build and opened in 2007 in this Melbourne suburb. The building basically functions like a giant X-ray machine / microscope. It propels electrons at incredible speeds and then manipulates them with magnetic fields to produce a brilliant form of light known as synchrotron light. This light can end up being 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun and can be tweaked by the building to peer into a wide variety of objects. So far, the synchrotron has been used to examine plants and animals in fine detail and to peer through the layers of objects like old paintings. Soon, it may be used to treat diseases, too.
G'day, Andrew.
Ashlee.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Andrew Peel is a physicist and the director of the synchrotron. He agreed to give me what's known as the Greg Norman tour of the place.
That's a sweet ride.
Come aboard.
Thank you.
Some of these beamlines that we're driving past, there are researchers using these to do things like trying to cure cancer, different forms of disease. A lot of it's a bit like imagining a lock and a key. And if you can understand which locks fit which keys, you can turn diseases on and off. You can stop cancer in its tracks.
Recent anti-science Australian governments have threatened to slash funding for labs like this. As a result, many top scientists have left the country. But in 2015, the synchrotron lucked out and received $500 million in funding over the next 10 years. The hope is that this facility can make money on its own by doing commercial work. Yay, science. To get a closer look at this machine,
Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
How are you?
I spoke with Daniel Hauserman, a scientist here who's looking at how the synchrotron can diagnose and treat cancer.
We use X-ray beam that are 1 billion times brighter than you would in the hospital. So in the hospital it's safe, you put your chest, in a second you get a chest X-ray. If you do a second with our beam here, you burn.
You're done.
You smoke. There's a hole in your chest.
Okay.
Because of its unique construction, the Australian synchrotron can make large beams 50 centimeters wide, or about the width of a human body. This means that the machine could be ideal for turbocharged radiotherapy of tumors.
We found that you can deliver doses which are 1,000 times higher.
But more targeted.
More targeted and less damage to the healthy tissues.
Okay.
So you could say that 1,000 gray would kill a human being if it was delivered in a single shot, broad area. When you make it in microbeams, it doesn't. It actually destroys tumors much better and spares healthy tissue.
It's not ready for human trials yet, but Daniel thinks people may soon be able to make an appointment and have this building go to work on your innards.
It will be several years before we can apply it to actually a patient. Therefore, that
The caveats
if
still
anyone
apply.
watches your show and then call us and say, "Yeah, I want to bring my granddad because they can't treat his cancer," unfortunately, we'd say, "Sorry, we can't do it right now."
But maybe one day.
But maybe in 3 or 5 years.
Yeah. These optimistic notes reflect just how hard Australian scientists must work these days to justify their jobs and provide the government with the hint that these types of facilities may one day pay for themselves. But you know what's more fun than anti-science bureaucrats? That would be dinosaurs. Welcome to Jurassic Warehouse.
So this is a stegosaur. Stegosaur is for our Jurassic World exhibition. This is our T-Rex. She tends to steal the show and dominate the workshop.
I keep thinking one of these things is gonna eat me.
Yeah.
Sonny Tilders hails from Melbourne and co-founded Creature Technology. Since its birth in 2006, the company is specialized in making giant, robotic animals and has ended up as one of the biggest animatronics companies around. The Creature team is made up of movie special effects artists who needed work during down periods. And their first project was a live show called Walking with Dinosaurs that ended up as the highest grossing touring event in the world in 2010. They've been in high demand ever since, making rideable dragons, a full-size King Kong, and cuddlier creations, like these giant stuffed animals for the Sochi Olympics. Vladimir Putin still likes to cuddle the bunny rabbit on the right.
We didn't know where this was going to go. We thought we'd all go back to film and TV. But it grew out of this one show, and we realised that there was something in this to bring that sort of film-level animatronics to a live audience.
This is the Indominus Rex. At the moment, we're skinning the creature, and the girls are putting in some scales.
Each one of these creatures takes about a year to create. Every detail of the anatomy is built from scratch, including the eyeballs, the hydraulic skeleton, and the lifelike fabric skin.
So it's very similar to a real creature. It's got bones, it's got muscles, it's got skin. It's how they work together that's the trick, really.
To make the creatures seem more lifelike, the company's coders program nuanced movement routines. But I'm not here to watch a computer play with dinosaurs. I'm here to take a dino out for a spin.
So this is a voodoo rig. So I'm actually controlling the neck of this Parasaurolophus now.
So this is all homegrown, and how long did it take you to make that?
Yeah, I mean, we built these for our first live show 10 years ago, and this is our rusty workshop model. Want to have a go?
Yes.
Okay. He's designed to be intuitive and smooth, and so you can take him through his whole range, and he will go where you want to take him.
Have your own little pet dinosaur.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There were a couple of new creations coming to life in the Creature Workshop that we weren't allowed to show you. Secrecy remains paramount in the vicious world of animatronics. It's safe to say, though, that the next time a dinosaur, giant plush bear, or say an alien greets you at an amusement park, then it came from this place, on the other side of the world. Australia has done well for itself in recent years. Its mines have churned out natural resources that China has welcomed with open wallets. There's the whole Ugg thing, and the local soap operas have kept the rest of the world well-stocked with attractive entertainers. As for tech, it remains a mixed story. Meow Meow, for example, has decided to form a startup in San Francisco because it proved easier to raise money there. That said, Australia still teems with well-educated and motivated engineers, coders, and scientists. There are plenty of success stories now for these youngsters to follow. There's also an undeniable urge for Australians to make a go of it at home and prove what they're capable of. And if you fail, the worst thing that can happen is that you end up here, looking for another dash of courage in a beer. This is Muriwai Beach in New Zealand. This is a sheep, and this is Gandalf. Most people come to New Zealand to check out the country's unmatched beauty and to get their Middle-earth fix, and that makes perfect sense. But on this trip, I'm hunting for something else, something less obvious. I'm after the innovations being brought to life behind these doors, in these buildings, and in this studio. I'm heading out on a 400-mile journey across New Zealand's North Island from Auckland to Wellington to find the most breathtaking inventions these Kiwis have cooked up. We'll check out a mad scientist, some rockets, and an AI baby.
Hi, baby. Hi.
That will either warm your heart or leave you weeping over humanity's grim future. Oh, hello, Skyphallus. This is Auckland, the home to 1.5 million of New Zealand's 4.5 million people. People living outside of Auckland tend to knock it as congested and hectic. Meanwhile, people living in Auckland celebrate the way of life it offers.
Oh, here's that gelato place everybody's trying to go to.
The city has a bustling food scene. There's a gorgeous harbor surrounded by fertile volcanic land. And those gannets and black sand beaches you saw earlier, they're just a half-hour drive from downtown. And this next part's gonna sound cheesy, but honest to God, it's true. Auckland is full of cheery, optimistic people. You feel good when you're here. Like you can do stuff, big stuff, crazy stuff. Like, say, replicating human consciousness on the inside of a computer.
Face. It's our primary means of communication.
Yeah.
But it's been untapped in terms of a human-computer interface.
How can I help you?
A computer can express itself to you in a human-like way, which is emotional, it's cognitive.
No. No.
That's when you start getting to this sort of interesting place.
Going to see an AI baby on a sunny afternoon. The fella you meet next is a madman in the best possible way.
You're going to pull the muscles which basically lower the brow.
He's Mark Sager, a computer scientist at the University of Auckland.
So nose wrinkler would be, yeah, let's do the nose wrinkler. Punch his nose up.
Mark became famous for building super detailed simulations of the human body and ended up winning a couple of Oscars for his work on films like Avatar and King Kong.
So let's go here and, you know.
These days, Mark is, how to put this, trying to reverse engineer the human brain. He's built a series of simulations around how the human face moves, how we express emotion, and how our neurons fire.
We're trying to build a computer which has experiences, can imagine, and basically it has its own sort of existence in a way. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to run Baby X. What we're building here is a computer that can learn. So this is Baby. She's sort of looking at us and hearing us. So if I make a loud noise, you know, she'll get a fright. This is what she can see. So you can see my face here. Hey, see that? Right. So she's not copying my smile, she's responding to me. And now this is her little baby's first word book. So you can pick a page, you know, show her something, but she has to be looking at it. So get her attention.
Hi, baby. Hi, hi, hi. What do you see? What's this?
Puppy.
Puppy. Very good. What's that, baby?
Apple.
This is because we're in New Zealand, you've got to show her a sheep.
Yeah, I'll give her the word, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, baby. Hi. What do you see, baby?
Sheep.
Sheep. Very good, baby.
Now, the long-term goals is, can we create a computational model of consciousness? Because then you can go, okay, the computer model has just become conscious of something. Is that thought or not?
Yeah.
Now, all the facial expressions, everything's driven by neural nets. So as we look around, what I'm going to do now is remove her face, basically. And so this is what's driving in the background. And so what you're looking at now, these are all the connections lighting up, right, as the baby's doing stuff.
And this is like a simulation of what would be happening in a person's brain.
Yeah, because if you're going to make a character biological and behave naturally, then you've got to use a natural model. So that's the sort of what's going on inside Baby X. Now we take this stuff and we now connect it to cognitive computing systems. So you've got biological neural networks connected to artificial intelligence models, and the potential for that's enormous. That's where the future's probably going to be.
Maybe.
There's a term New Zealanders have for possessed inventor types like Mark. They're part of the country's number 8 wire culture. Like so many things here, the story of number 8 wire goes back to those sheep. Farmers used to make their fences out of 8 wire gauge metal. Then, they started to use the wire to fix just about any problem on the farm. Over time, a number 8 wire mythology evolved to capture the can-do spirit of people living in a remote place and of a people who had to solve problems in any clever way they could. But while New Zealanders remain fond of the 8 wire idea, there's an undeniable sense that the country is ready to level up. It's time to start inventing with more purpose and polish. The gritty garage workshop is giving way to this. A pristine mad scientist lab that looks like it could be for sale in an Apple store. Sir Ray Avery embodies Kiwi ingenuity. He's a prolific scientist and inventor.
Sir Avery, this is Ashlee Vance.
He made a fortune in the pharmaceutical industry and then decided to dedicate his life to helping the world's poorest people. Hence, the Sir.
All right, this way.
It's a cool house.
Right, those are the magic wardrobe.
I followed Sir Avery through a wardrobe door into his garage/lab where he creates his objects.
I noticed everything in the house is white and you're wearing white.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit like Steve Jobs. I have 2 dresses. I have black for winter and white for summer. But the thing is that I know that I've got 4,795 days left to live.
How do you know that?
Well, because I've done an algorithm analysis of somebody my age, born at my time, how much Chardonnay I drink, all that sort of shit. So I know what I'm going to do with the next 10 years of my life. Failure is really just for people who are unprepared. You don't waste time on things that aren't going to get you to where you need to go. Things like clothes.
Sir Avery is well known for taking complicated medical devices and making them simple, cheap, and durable.
Did you make this in here?
Yeah.
This is your workshop, lab, everything.
Yeah.
Currently, he's working on this incubator.
It's really is a life pod. because it's almost like, you know, something that Superman would be happy to be in. And the shape of it is really much more about getting even air distribution and trying to make it look cool.
The LifePod costs $2,000 versus $40,000 for typical incubators. The hope is that it could save thousands of lives each year.
I'll show you, this is really cool. This is...
Oh my God.
It's just pretty ugly stuff.
He also has this giant block of frozen chicken slurry as a way to amplify the nutritional value of trash meat.
So that's after Kentucky Fried have taken all their bits, the legs and the chest meat, they make it into this stuff.
Chicken slurry.
Guys, have a spoonful of that later.
Sureri mixes the trash meat with, of all things, kiwi. This breaks it down into the basic amino acids so your body can absorb the nutrients more easily. It's aimed at helping malnourished children.
If you take that, then you're going to get instant energy. You don't need to digest it. It goes straight across your gut. This will save millions and millions of kids' lives. You know, Einstein said the most elegant solution is always the most simplest. And Kiwis have a very practical way of doing things. If you take away the noise that you have often with things like Silicon Valley, and you just have a bunch of guys in sheds with a lathe and a few bits and pieces, they come up with stuff that nobody else has thought of.
I think New Zealanders don't think big enough. They don't go after the really big problems and the big billion-dollar ideas. I started building rockets when I was at school. And the very first rocket that I built, I ended up putting on a bicycle.
Most rocket companies are started by wealthy governments and billionaires. Rocket Lab was started in 2007 by this maniac, Peter Beck. Peter is one of the most capable people on the planet. He never went to college, opting instead to hone his own engineering craft in the garage and machine shops.
Oh, I don't know why rockets make me so happy.
Yeah, I know.
Now, he wants to make it much easier and cheaper to put small satellites into space.
If you had a satellite on your lap right now, in 1 week, I can have that on orbit. Moreover, I can have that on orbit an order of magnitude less cost than any other way of getting it there.
The first rocket launch will take place later this year.
Wow, this is the first one that's gonna go up.
Yep.
Commercial customers have already signed up, and there's a 2-year waiting list.
How much are you gonna charge per flight?
We're $4.9 million.
Okay.
$4.9 million might seem like a lot, but it's actually a remarkable figure.
And liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon.
The cheapest way to get to space today is on one of Elon Musk's rockets from SpaceX, and that costs $60 million per trip. Rocket Lab's prices would open space to a whole new set of customers, including scientists and businesses, and, in effect, democratize space. This is what the aerospace world has dreamed of for decades.
This is the second stage?
Second stage, yeah.
You can lift it up.
Yep.
You rolled your eyes a little bit at this 8-wire thing. Why is that?
If someone says, you know, Rocket Lab is a number 8-wire company, they'll get escorted off the site. They're just gone. Because number 8-wire, it's about sort of bodging stuff together to make it work. And that's really not what New Zealanders have evolved to. It's about really high-tech innovation and doing really, really clever things.
With launch day approaching, the pressure is on. Today, they're running an engine test at a site near the Auckland airport.
So the worst case scenario
It blows up.
blows up. And the best case is, how does it deal with
It'll shut
that?
down. Building a company is hard.
Yeah.
Building a rocket company, damn near insane.
I hitched a ride with Peter to the test site and arrived just in time for countdown.
3, 2, 1.
The engine test was successful, but there's still a ways to go.
What does it feel like in your gut with that countdown clock in the office and everything that comes
I don't
with?
sleep much. That's probably the best answer for that question.
With a bit of luck, Peter will maintain his sanity through 2017. That's when Rocket Lab plans to start flying for paying customers. This is a tiny company of 100 people that will have bested entire nations and firmly put New Zealand's stamp on the world. That's not 8-wire culture. That's just flat out amazing. And with that, it's now time to leave Auckland and journey to Middle Earth. We could have flown from Auckland to Wellington, and it would have taken an hour, but we wanted to be basted in Hobbit vibes. We had to see the land.
Road trip!
Dear laptop, New Zealand is everything they said it would be. Plus burgeros.
Smells like feet, tastes like pork rind.
If aliens ever visit Earth and want to see what it has to offer, their first stop would have to be New Zealand. It's like a sampler platter of landscapes. Rolling hills, deserts, plains, tropical forest, whizzing by one after another. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, laptop. Love, Ashlee. 3 hours outside of Auckland, we made a pit stop at a hot spring.
All the signs leading into this place warn you that you'll get meningitis if you stick your head underwater. I'm hoping that I live after this relaxing afternoon. Now, the more I learn about the meningitis, the more afraid I am that I have the meningitis. You know, you come to New Zealand and it's all 8-wire culture, you can send up rockets. Next thing you know, you dunk your head underwater and then you're dead. So, lesson learned. This mud is cool. Just reminds me of all the floating around in my brain.
Welcome to a rainy and famously windy Wellington, New Zealand's capital city and home to a thriving film industry. Director Peter Jackson is the local boy made good. He famously made Lord of the Rings here and then shot past being a one-hit wonder. Peter's created an entire movie industry based around his film production company, WETA. This is Wellywood. It's just like Hollywood, but without any of the glitz and glamour. Studio lots and sound stages are dull and unmarked. They're tucked into a quiet suburb called Miramar. WETA has started to expand into virtual reality, and I was invited to take a look at their first VR movie, a scene from The Hobbit where Smaug wakes up from a nap.
You said it wasn't going to be Friday.
There you thief in the shadows.
It's crazy, man. I mean, you feel like real emotions when you see it.
That's the nice thing with VR. People get such a much more emotional experience than seeing something like in a video game or whatever. And I think that's kind of where the space we're in, the content generation and the custom technology on the software side to kind of enable these high-end experiences.
Next, the studio where they filmed Lord of the Rings.
I just want to grab that and have a look around.
Where I got a crash course in motion capture filmmaking using Peter Jackson's very own custom-made camera. Which isn't really a camera, but more of a device to place a director in a virtual world. There's a screen on the top that shows a rough version of the final graphics, while dozens of sensors around the room record all of the camera's movements.
All you've got to do is yell action.
Yep.
They'll do their stuff, and you say cut like any other film.
Action.
Get inside, get inside. Yes, just grab the stuff. And the box? Yes, the box.
Good, right. Okay. It's too late. You've got to run for safety.
This tech brings a human element back to green screen filmmaking.
Back this way, back this way.
It's more tactile.
We got to run towards the waterfall.
It makes the director actually feel like he's shooting the film again.
All right, cut. Really good sport. Thanks.
WETA became an industry of its own, and after the success of Lord of the Rings, spawned startups that are their own mini-WETAs.
I'm Ashlee.
On my last stop, I went to one of these startups, 8 Studios. It's a VR company that is recording people in 3 dimensions to bring them into virtual reality.
The difference from looking at a video to seeing a hologram that looks just like the real thing is so powerful.
8 is developing software that will bring VR to the masses. The day you can capture a loved one in virtual space is almost here.
We'll show you some experiences where we've captured some humans with off-the-shelf cameras. It feels like you're in the room with a person.
Can I check it out?
Sure. All right, so you can see the room?
Yeah.
All right, so.
Oh, hello.
We create a virtual environment, but then we capture a very lifelike motion of the cloth and the human performance, and we can compose those together.
So you'd been at WETA and we're used to making these CGI fantastic creatures, but it just wouldn't work for a normal person to have to...
You don't want to drop a visual effects Hollywood production budget just to record your child experiencing their first steps.
Right.
And as we saw that these headsets were coming along, there was no clear, efficient, cheap, scalable solution to capture reality and to author experiences at a scale and at a realism and at a pace that would create a similar sort of content database for people to enjoy. Let's see how your fear of heights is.
So this is gonna be like a movie. Oh my God. That's crazy, because I'm sort of like afraid of heights usually. Oh, no. I mean, I felt like I was gonna like walk off a cliff. That was really frightening.
Although I was a bit skeptical, it was time to scan myself so I could meet the virtual Ashlee.
Which way do I look? Like this way?
You don't have to look anywhere.
Okay.
You're captured from all angles.
sides.
So have fun.
And I just have to stay in the circle.
Pretty much.
I was surrounded by 30 cameras, all perfectly spaced and measured. It was like an OCD paparazzi.
I'm Ashlee Vance, except I'm not really Ashlee Vance. I'm a digital asset that's being made at 8 Studios.
And then in post, they put together all those different angles to make a final 3D version of me. If you want to get really nerdy, this is called volumetric cinematography. Just for the nerds.
Hands in pockets. Hands in pockets.
It's my little virtual friend. So I get to see my virtual self today.
You've seen yourself many, many times in 2D video, so.
I think I'm gonna be underwhelmed. I think I'm just gonna see what I always look like in the mirror. I don't know why seeing like a 3D version of yourself would be a big deal. I would much rather be chased by smog. So I can just walk around now?
Yeah.
That's kind of strange. The detail's insane. I mean, you can see like whiskers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the cameras are just that good.
And we're looking to increase that resolution as well.
Give yourself a smooch.
Step into yourself.
Oh no, that is crazy.
Yep.
Whoa, I also did not know where I was in the room. So I thought it would be really janky, and I mean, it is lifelike, you know, and so that, I guess, was the biggest surprise for me.
So do you think people are going to want VR to be human?
I've got 2 boys, and they grow up so quick, and it's like, oh man, if you could just remember how they talked and their gestures and the funny things, they said that would be really cool.
Here's the thing about New Zealand. Its economy today depends on sheep, cows, and tourists. And everyone knows that needs to change. Technology is the country's future. Thanks to companies like Rocket Lab, Rex Bionics, and 8 the change is already underway. Foreign investors have started to pour money into New Zealand, and engineers are staying at home because there are good jobs to be had. If you're an outsider looking to come here, well, why not? The scenery is breathtaking, the weather is good, and the 8-wire days have passed. New Zealand is taking on some of the hardest problems in the industry. It's working on the technology of the absurd.
Bajo gran espíritu del cielo, la tierra, a todos los abuelos que nos acompañan, resistencia a todos los guardianes de la medicina.
A trip to Chile's high desert is the perfect excuse to hang with someone like Magdalena. She's a shaman who, for a reasonable fee, offers up a soul cleanse. Your spirit is healed as your brain melts.
Time is an illusion. You know that. We all know.
After the ceremonial stripping of the gringo, and whatever this is, Magdalena forces me to drink an ungodly amount of water.
You will start a new relation with water, so you will be clean.
Okay.
Then, she burns me. Into my wounds, she pours something called combo, which is a secretion that comes from a very poisonous Amazonian tree frog.
It's done. Don't expect anything.
Okay.
Just be here. Time is an illusion. Water is life.
And that's when the frog juice really kicked in. There was the desert. It was cruel, and then it was kind. There were huge telescopes nestled up against the heavens. There were strange, gurgling pools full of minerals. There was a bustling city, and a chair I could control with my mind. It was a grand vision of what Chile had to offer and what needed to be explored. Science says that the Atacama Desert is the driest place in the world. The desert plateau is about 10,000 feet above sea level. The days run extremely hot, and the nights get extremely cold. It turns out that this hellscape is the perfect place to build a telescope. Between the high altitude and the lack of moisture in the air, the view of the stars is practically unobstructed. I'm heading for the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, aka ALMA, the largest astronomical project in the world.
So we're just 500 meters now from the top of the site. I do feel a little bit lightheaded already.
ALMA's telescopes sit at nearly 17,000 feet, the same elevation as Everest Base Camp. So it's cold, windy, and difficult to breathe. There are dozens of telescopes, and it cost $1.4 billion to build them all here in the middle of nowhere, with the United States, Japan, and Europe footing most of the bill. And for that kind of money, they didn't just get a garden variety optical telescope. They got something special. I tracked down ALMA's kindly head mechanic, Fabiola, to get a better understanding of how this place works.
When you're in Santiago and you go out to dinner with somebody, how do you explain to them how the telescope works?
Okay, with an optic telescope, you look on the sky, and that's what you see.
Yeah.
With ALMA, whatever you don't see with your eyes, whatever is black, that is a lot, you see with ALMA.
ALMA sees in what's known as the millimeter range of the electromagnetic spectrum, far beyond the visible range seen by optical telescopes and the human eye. Armed with this superhuman vision, Alma can unveil all kinds of magical stuff in the universe that would have been invisible before. To get an idea of what wonders Alma is finding in space, I went to the control center, where I met this very tall man.
At one time when I was in graduate school, I was supposedly the tallest astronomer who had ever lived. The younger generation, though, is taller, so I'm not sure that's still true.
Richard Simon and his fellow astronomers are using Alma to look for the origins of stars, life, and the universe itself. With Alma, they're able to see the cosmos in more detail than ever before.
When I was looking at the work that you guys do, you could spot even a sugar molecule near a star that's somewhere off in the Milky Way.
We can detect all kinds of different molecules. Think of Alma as a huge chemical sniffer. So we can start to understand how stars form, how planets form. How did we wind up with water to support life?
The surreal images Alma creates have revealed Earth-like exoplanets, a comet nursery, and galaxies at the edge of the known universe. In the not-so-distant future, they could also help answer the question of whether we're not alone.
One of the small moons of Saturn, Enceladus, has geysers of water vapor and other materials coming out. And it's possible with Alma to actually look at that and try to see some of the chemistry that's going on. What is inside that moon? What is blasting out into space? Are there complicated organic molecules? I suspect that we will learn a lot more about the chemistry of life and the possibilities for life in very strange places, even here in our own solar system.
Keep watching the skies, you beautiful nerds. It's not all dusty highways and infinite vistas in the Chilean desert. There's big tech and big fun to be had as well. And to find the fun, you just need to look for the oasis, the town of San Pedro de Atacama. This is one of the world's most remote tourist hotspots. A magnet for dirty hippies and chilled out dogs. Why would anyone choose to vacation at 8,000 feet in the desert? Well, there are glorious geysers that demand to be roamed. There are sand dunes to surf. And there are huge watering holes that no one can explain. Oddly enough, there's big business out in the Atacama too. More solar radiation reaches this desert than anywhere else in the world. This makes it the perfect place to build massive solar panel farms. If you stop by for a visit, they'll put you to work washing the panels.
How's my technique? It's good?
The tricky thing about solar energy is that it needs to be stored.
Like that.
And the Atacama happens to have an answer for that too. Chile is one of the world's leading producers of lithium, the stuff that goes into all of our smartphone, laptop, and electric car batteries. And to see how lithium is pulled from the earth, I went to visit the operations of the mining giant SQM.
Hello, Ashlee. How are you doing? Finally here.
My guide through the mines is Alejandro Butcher. He's a cheerful engineer who has spent years working in the Great Void.
When I think of something like a lithium-ion battery in a laptop or even a Tesla with thousands of batteries, it's what, like a spoonful of lithium that would go into those batteries?
You would say in an iPad or in a cell phone, you could have something like a spoonful. In a car, you could have maybe 10 to 15 kilos of lithium.
It's the nearby Andes Mountains that make these mines possible. Over millions of years, minerals from the mountains leach into the ground. Then they collect together and form huge salt beds, rich in lithium, sulfate, potassium, and boron. Companies like SQM pump water up through the beds and store the mineral-rich liquid in large ponds. From there, it's up to the sun to do its thing and evaporate away the water, leaving the minerals and salt behind. And nowhere evaporates better than Chile.
Now we are heading for the first part of the pond operation.
There's a lot of ponds. Those are pretty.
As this is the first pond, you can see the salts forming in the surface.
Yeah, it's gotta be crazy because you already have the harsh heat and cold, and then you have all this salt just blowing around everything.
These pickup trucks suffer a lot, but the other equipment, we made them from a special steel that really works good here. And now we're moving to the lithium ponds that are only 2 of the 44 million square meters that we have here. This pond, we made it so we can experience what is the lithium brine. When we have it in the big ponds, we cannot sample it. So we made this little pond.
What exactly is this stuff?
This is magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride is the magnesium that we need to get rid of for being able to produce the lithium in the plant.
Okay.
Yeah. We will only send on the track the liquid.
Just the liquid?
Just the liquid.
Okay, so this is lithium. What are the odds that some part of this is in my smartphone?
I couldn't guarantee it, but it's pretty sure that almost 100% sure that part of your smartphone went through this pond at some point in the past.
At some point. This is smartphone juice.
Yeah.
You guys must be excited that Teslas are selling well and that everybody's getting into electric cars now.
It's very interesting, but it puts a lot of pressure on us. So we will more than double our capacity probably in 4 years.
Chile may have the largest lithium deposits in the world, but it started to fall behind countries like Australia and China when it comes to production. And in China, it's a one-stop shop with the mining and battery production happening together. This is a leap Chilean companies have been unwilling to take.
Maybe you could make the batteries here in Chile.
Well, for me, it would be excellent, but the company, we're experts in hydrogeology, we're experts in mining, we're experts in producing lithium. If we put us to produce batteries, we're probably not going to do it well.
Things have been extra tense lately between the mines and the Chilean government. The feds have put strict quotas on lithium production, and they've also been trying to act tough and save face after some politicos were accused of taking bribes from the mines. Environmentalists aren't huge fans of the mines either. They say that water is being sucked from nearby lagoons that feed these flocks of stunning flamingos.
What we do here has absolutely no impact to the flamingos, but we're still responsible for what's happening with them. We need to do counting of the flamingos every year. They identify them by the feathers on the tail, so they can differentiate every flamingo.
The miners here work for a week and then take a week off because of the dry, hot, salty conditions. But there are some on-the-job perks.
The sunsets here are every day amazing. You have all these different colors that only women know, the names, every day, and you don't get tired of that. It's really beautiful.
Alejandro has a point. Not so much about the colors that only women apparently know, but about the beauty of the mines. These odd marvels make the modern world run. Let Tesla's flamingo breeding program begin. Chileans like to hold Santiago up as a symbol of everything they've done right. It's orderly and prosperous. And there's all that you would want from a capital city clinging to the bottom of the globe. Sure, you can get roped into the occasional kari-kari. But here they say it's more refined. And nothing says refinement like a foot-long coney.
Mayonnaise, definitely a questionable choice.
This capital, built with mineral wealth and struggling with its fallout, is looking for new ways to survive in a changing environment.
Hoy en día, tú te encuentras con que el cambio climático en Chile al menos ha afectado la condición natural de obtención de agua. Las lluvias se han ido desplazando y esa agua de calidad ya no la encuentras en forma natural.
So, Hector Pino figured out how to make water from air with the touch of a button. Hector made a fortune as an engineer, but now works full-time on his freshwater system.
What propelled you to think up this project?
La enfermedad de mi hija. Ella nació con un mal congénito a los riñones. Investigando en este mundo de las tecnologías, vimos que había una tecnología militar que se utiliza en tanques submarinos de producir agua purificada de calidad. Y esa tecnología, pero que está en un mundo muy industrializado, llevarlo a un formato doméstico para que mi hija pudiera acceder a esa agua que le mantuviera la zona sana.
So you use this machine at home?
Yes.
Okay, and your daughter uses this every day?
To complete my family. Una niña de 17 años que tiene una vida normal.
Hector sees this technology having uses far beyond his family. His freshwater machine feeds off humidity in the air. It pulls in water particles through a vent and then basically forms a rain cloud inside the machine. A series of filters purify the water, collect it, and then pristine H2O flows out of the faucet.
So I can drink it.
Yeah.
Yo bebo.
Yeah. Atrévete. It's no problem.
Muy delicioso.
Agua del aire.
Yeah.
Right now, one magic water machine costs about $1,600, but he wants to shrink the price and its size to something like a backpack. As he perfects the design, he's installed his machines in Chile's dry north.
Y lo que estamos haciendo ahora, estamos midiendo el impacto, porque una cosa es instalar la tecnología, pero lo otro es saber, bueno, ¿sirvió? ¿Cuál fue la consecuencia? Y ese impacto sociológico y económico es el que estamos midiendo para poder nosotros escalar hacia otros países y mostrar estos buenos resultados.
Hector distilled the idea for freshwater inside an incubator, funded by some of Santiago's wealthiest people. It's called the Idea Factory, or IF, for those into the whole brevity thing. They support tech with a do-gooder bent. Politicians stop by to schmooze. Kids get a chance to learn. It's not a factory designed to build the next Google or Facebook. It focuses on things for Chile and South America. And they've got hyper-local branches hidden in unexpected corners of Santiago.
There are tech incubators all over the world, but you won't find many in a neighborhood like this. IF has another building here that's been set up to inspire local youngsters and give budding inventors a helping hand.
Here in Recoleta, things are a bit more lively than in Palo Alto. And it suits the place. I showed up on a demo day when kids from the neighborhood pour through the gates to check out IF's gadgets. There was plenty of eye candy, but nothing beat this.
Hello, robots.
It's like every other video conferencing robot on a stick, but this one is basically lethal.
That's so cool.
All of the gadgets come from this man, Rodrigo Quevedo. He's something of a local celebrity and has Kanye West levels of passion.
Con el mismo esfuerzo, con el mismo corazón, con la misma inteligencia, hagamos algo, pero que sea para todo el mundo. Entonces, ¿a quién ayudamos? ¿A quién ayudamos? ¿Quiénes son los que más necesitan? Los que no se pueden mover, los que no mueven brazo y pierna. Bueno, hagamos algo para que se muevan. ¿Qué hacemos? Con señales cerebrales. ¡Ya!
Rodrigo was an officer in the Chilean army and then an engineer until he had a revelation and became a robotics entrepreneur. His most inspired invention is this wheelchair. People can control it by tilting their head or making a gesture. Soon, Rodrigo hopes it'll move by thought alone, by reading impulses from a brainwave monitor.
Ahora, ¿quieres probar la silla?
Sí, sí, sí.
Bienvenido. Ahora estamos haciendo todo mucho más pequeño y este es el primer modelo funcional.
Rodrigo's helpers were surprisingly gentle as they gave me the power of telekinesis.
Y para encender el sistema, hace 1.
That's how I turn it on?
Sí.
3 blinks.
Así.
Oh, it's like a genie.
Fuerte. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my God.
Hacia atrás. Hacia atrás. Hacia atrás.
That's crazy. It's amazing.
Es fácil.
And that was the perfect ending to a magical trip. Chile will always have a special place in my subconscious. When I close my eyes at night, I can still hear my shaman Magdalena singing and see her desert compound. She scarred me. But you know, in a good way. Of all my trips around the world this year, this one was a proper adventure. There's a mystical quality to Chile, and it only gets more profound as your body dries out and your brain loses oxygen. As for the tech, Chile has the big stuff down. It has embraced the weirdness of the land and tried to make the most out of it. If the startups in Santiago can tap into that same spirit, then Chile has a bright future ahead. Either that, or the poison really got to me.